What's up guys, Kennan here from Marshall Goldman Motor Sales, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to read a Porsche DME reading, what it is, how it's calculated, and what it means. So there are a lot of misconceptions when it comes to DME reports. A lot of people think that when you see a number on a DME report that it's the car spent that many seconds at or above redline. This actually isn't the case. This is a 997.1 GT3 RS. And these cars have 6 different ranges for their over rev readings. Now, what is an over rev? When an over rev is an ignition that records in the DME when a car has an ignition at a specific RPM range. Again, with this car, there are 6. So obviously 6 being the highest, that's anytime the car goes to registers ignition around 11,000 RPM. And they work backwards from there. Range 5 would be 10,000 to 11,000. Range 4 is 9,600 to 10,000, and then backwards in increments of 200 from there. So from this car, you can see this has, in range 1, has 102 ignitions. Now what that means is that this car was driven by somebody who knew what they were doing. This car likely hasn't seen any track days, although it should be noted that just because a car registers a high range doesn't mean it necessarily had a track day. It could be a missed shift. It could be that somebody bounced it over redline very briefly. These things occur. It's just part of owning one of these cars. Now, again, this will tell you the ignitions, but that doesn't tell you the overall total condition of the car. You should still be inspecting things like your bushings, brake wear, driving the car, listening to the engine. These things are going to be what tell you the sort of condition that this car is in. This particular example only has 6,700 miles on it, so it hasn't been driven a ton, and it is one of the nicest I have ever seen. This DME report just adds to that condition that yes, it looks great, sounds great, and drives great, but additionally, it was cared for. Now, let's take another look at a different example to see what another car and another generation of car looks like with its over rev report. Okay, so this is a 2003 Porsche 996 Turbo. Now in the 996 generation, there are only 2 ranges of over revs. There was range 1, which was 2 redline, and range 2, which was anything over redline. Now it should be noted that it was very common to have 996s that had tunes on them, which raised the redline of the car to get a little more performance out of it. If that's been done, the DME does not recognize that a change has been made. So anytime that you go to the new redline, it registers as an over rev, which is why it's very common to see these cars with maxed out range 1s and a ton of range 2s. It's very common. Again, this is just a piece of the puzzle. You have to look at the whole car and see if it's a nice example. Having just driven this particular one, it's a nice car, but let's go ahead and take a look at the report. So as you can see, range 1 registers 65,535. Now that sounds like a really big number. That's actually the maximum number of registrations for a range 1 that you can do with a Porsche 996. Now again, this car likely has a tune of it on it of some kind, as it has aftermarket wheels and has been messed around with. So luckily there is some sort of tune, that's why it registers so high. But let's try to break that number down, and I'll show. This is the equation you use to determine what that number actually means. So you take this total number divided by 3 ignitions per revolution of the crankshaft, and then you take that total number over 7,000, which is the RPM range for the range for redline on this car. What that will give you is 3.12, which is going to be the number of minutes that this car experienced at redline. Extrapolated for a second, that's roughly 187 seconds that this car spent over the course of its life at redline. Now, its operating hours are 1,252.7 hours. So when you extrapolate 187 seconds over that period of time, that's not a ton of time really spent at redline at all. So looking at the range 2 ignitions, you can see there are 5,527 registered ignitions. Now, to calculate this, we're going to take that number divided by, again, 3 ignitions per revolution of the crankshaft, divided by 7,000, which is the red line, and then that will give, once extrapolated and we multiply that by 60 to get seconds, it's going to equate to 15.8 seconds that this car spent above redline. Now when you extrapolate that over the 1,252.7 hours that this car has been operating, that's not a long period of time. Also notice that here, this second number, that is the number that tells us when that last over rev occurred. As you can see, there's about 50 hours difference between the two. According to the Porsche manual concerning the 996, if a 996 still runs and sounds fine, according to Porsche, and it's been 50 hours since the last registered over rev, the engine is deemed fine. This is a Metzger flat 6. It's a racing-derived engine, so it was designed to handle a lot more RPMs than that, and it was also designed to handle a lot more boost than these cars put out stock. So according to Porsche, this engine is fine. I hope that now you guys understand that over rev and DME readings are only a little part of the puzzle. You have to look at the car as a whole, drive it, listen to it, and experience it to determine if an example is the right one for you. So don't necessarily be afraid of seeing numbers in these ranges. Just know how to calculate it and then make the decision for yourself whether or not that engine sounds good to you. As always, thank you for watching, guys. Please make sure to check out all of the Porsches we have for sale on marshallgoldman.com. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. I'll be happy to get back to you. Thanks for watching, guys.